Cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, nah, unlikely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name, I just wanna be famous. But I don't want that cheap fame, no I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste it, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate it, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go, let me spend. Everything that you see is something I invent. And it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots. If I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing, I'll regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. That energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste it, you can try me. If you wanna hate bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste it, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate it, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Hello. Sorry about that. Having little computer issues. Good to see everybody. Hi, Grammy H. Hi, Joan. Hi, Justice. Oh, yeah. Do you know where that song originates from, Justice? It's one of my favorite songs, too. Definitely is. It's one of my favorites. So, you got it. That's right. You gotta roll in with some Erica Jane every now and then. So, I wanted to go over the profiling notes that I've had for regarding the killer of the Idaho 4. I'm not necessarily going to go over the victims or certain things, but potentially I'm just going to go over some profiling notes that have caught my attention and wanted some discussion on and your thoughts. What are your thoughts on a motive, right? Oh, here. Forgot. Since I've been getting so much hate that I don't cam up. Hi. Hey, everybody. It's me. I have my face. Welcome in. Welcome in. So, there is some cases, some key points that I wanted to go over when it comes to profiling. Oh, thank you, Justice. Thank you. Well, I got dragged the other night. I should show you that clip. Ooh. Boy, let me tell you. Ugh. But you know what? I can cam up when I want, when I don't want to. I'll get into that later. That was another live. Hey, Melissa. Hey, lovely. I was getting ready to, I'm emailing you back. I got your email. I kind of had to get through with this case and information. I am streaming on both platforms, Guidance platform and Miss T. Starting to incorporate the two. So I can see everybody, but if you see me responding to somebody, that's why. Oh, well, let's just say, per a certain someone's words, I chopped him in half. But you know what? I just let him do it to his own self. I didn't, but it does. It happens to us all. Oh, thank you, Grammy H. I appreciate it. So I've always had an interest in criminal psychology, criminal profiling, even when it comes to the thought process, the OCD process, whatever it may be, right? The criminal thought, of different aspects, and particularly when it comes to serial killers and their fascination and how it comes about, right? So I apologize about my Nightbot. I've got to rotate. Thank you. You too, Melissa. You're such a doll. And thank you again. Really appreciate it. Chop, chop. I'm getting the chop, chop. That's right. Justice, I'm going to have to tell you about that when we have our meeting. So, the Idaho 4 killer profiling notes. When it comes to motive, what are your thoughts? And put a 1 in the case in the chat if you are familiar with the case. How about that? We'll start with that. So I know who's familiar and who's not. But basically, you crack me up. More or less, 4 out of 6 house guests, roommates, were stabbed very brutally, right? When it comes to the medical side of things, when I'm learning the medical side, right, I automatically think, what's their motive? But on the medical side, let me stay on track. I'm squirreling. Major arteries, knowing exactly where the cuts go on the body. Specific spots bleed out faster. Kind of like hunting or farming. You know a specific spot to make even a cow bleed out, correct? If any of you are familiar with butchering, you hit a specific artery for them to bleed out, whether it's farming, hunting, whatever it may be, and you take care and process your own meat. Now, that is significant, and I'll explain when I get to that bullet point, okay? I see almost everybody is pretty familiar with this case. It is 4 college students, 1 being male, 3 being female. I honestly believe some serial killers, they particularly like to go to, they have a type. They have a certain way. If any of you have looked back at the Clay County killer, if you're familiar with that one, he used to call into the Howard Stern show. And he would highlight and say what he did. He had a fascination, and his point was ladies of the night on the street, red light district. And he wanted to be noticed, right? And he wanted the attention to be brought to him, okay? And it wasn't. He started to get upset when they started accusing a specific cop of being guilty of his doings, right? So to a certain aspect, they want the acknowledgement as well. And it's a game to them, like a cat and mouse game, but amplified because people's lives are at danger. Significantly at danger. Yes and no, Karen. If you look at some like the Clay County, not many have control. Sometimes it's just when they have the craving and they go in, right? On the criminal profiling aspect, to me, that's why it's so significant of it being a potential serial killer. Is because when you look at the Clay County, he just went to whoever it was. Well, he always got shot down. He always got shot down by women he was interested in. He was always, hi, Heather. Good to see you. Thank you. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you did too. So with his mindset, and I can always look up his interview, when he would call into Howard Stern, he would say, point blank, women never found me attractive. Women would never go with me to a date, entertain the idea of seeing me or dating me. So the women that would were the ladies of the night. And that's why I think it's so significant to compare when it comes to controlling the scenario. And they have a certain type. So his anger was really towards women who turned him down, correct? Revenge of being rejected, correct, Karen? But his revenge was towards ladies of the night. Nice way we can put that term, correct? Instead of anything derogatory, because it's their life, their circumstances, and there's resources for that. Just look at Grady Judd. We love him. Anyways, so this is more of my thought of transition into the psychology part of the motive. It could be somebody they know and was shot down, correct? Always possible. Always possible. It could be somebody that was on the other side of the bar that went to make eye contact. You ladies, you know what I'm saying. Like when somebody wants to buy you a drink, and what do? You don't always want to accept that drink because why? Can I hear you? Hey, Weedleby, good to see you, lovely. And you know what? Let's do this. If anybody wants to join on panel and give any ideas, I'm welcome to have you up. Just gotta show your face, prove you who you are, and I'll let you up. So let me get back to asking the ladies or gentlemen, anybody who's watching, when somebody offers you a drink, and I kind of felt this way when I first started YouTube with Cash Apps as just a love of support, right? Which, if you ever want to show support to keep me being able to move forward, it's always greatly appreciated, but not accepted. Expected, I'm sorry. But I'm more here to bring awareness, my thought of the criminal aspect, my thought process, because I tend to be an overthinker and overanalyzer. Hi, Sonia. Good to see you, lovely. Now, if you want some badass shirts, I'll shoot the link in the chat. So when it comes to motive, the Clay County killer, his motive was because he was shot down one too many times, could never catch himself a date or a girl, right? It was an ego factor at this point, a war within himself. And that could have been what that creep vibe was, that most of us have that sixth sense of catching onto. And that's normally when okay, let's take a step back. You get the creep vibe all the way, right? So when somebody wants to buy you a drink, which I'm big on this because I ran a restaurant for 12 years. I worked in the industry. I started off as a chef. I never accept a drink, always thinking maybe something else to it, in my opinion. That's where I'm getting to. So it's kind of like an obligation. In my opinion, it was, if I accept a drink from this guy and I don't know who he is, I trust the bartender. I know the bartender. If it's coming straight to me, it's coming to me. I'll have a drink. What the hell? I accept free drinks from the bartender. What the hell? You know, because I was in the industry and I know a lot of people in that industry. So you never turn down a free drink. But the only time you will see me or certain women turn down drinks is when a gentleman comes up to you, say, hey, can I buy you a drink? To me, sometimes that's like contemplation in your head, right? if I agree to let this person buy me a drink, then I kind of feel obligated to hold a conversation with this person and obligated to interact with this person that might already be giving off creeper vibes. So I always, and sometimes I gotta admit, sometimes men like that. I don't get it. But you turn them down on a drink. Sometimes they get excited about it and they're like, I like that. She's independent. I'll get my own drinks. But when they have the creeper vibe to them, and women tend to have better sense of it because it starts early when you get exposed around staring, especially when you start to develop, right? So I'm trying to figure out the motive of this killer. And my thought process on this being the motive was insecurity, control, in that form of, well, you turned me down, so a big F you. Stalking. There was definitely stalking factor. Almost like a hunting factor, in my opinion. Because it was a K-bar knife, a 6-inch knife. The ones with the blades across. So when you go in for the kill, or go in for the cut, you get no damage on your hands. And if you think about it, it probably protects you from getting in any DNA, vice versa, or getting cut, correct? So, the weapon is a whole nother story. But the motive, I sincerely feel as though it was somebody that wanted to be in military, ROTC, and I've been saying this since the beginning, and I can have a few people back that up, or dishonorable discharge. Because I feel it has to do more with the mental, exactly, Justice, mental ego when it comes to the military aspect. Because if you're not mentally healthy, you cannot be in the military. Back in the day, they'd take anybody and everybody. But now they're certain they even run your credit, right? So I feel some of these, it was like the odd duck. Something didn't sit right that triggered this person. Now, many people do not want to say, or they have come out and said that the dog, the animals are not connected. I'm going to put my neck on the line on this one. And I'm going to say that there is a good chance. And I'll get to that. You might have heard me between Dolly Vision or Bullhorn. Those have been the only two places I've been able to voice this because I've been trying to do this live for a couple days now, as you can tell. But the kids went down for a nap, so I, bingo, can get to business. So the choice of weapon, the motive, definitely, I want to compare it to, he has a certain genre, a certain type. And I also fully believe that it has to do with some type of mental ego from his past that triggered, but I don't think it's anything that has newly come about. If they connect other crimes to this or other incidences, mark my words, I will not be surprised. Okay? So when it comes to the choice of weapon, when somebody kills, and it's a serial killer in particularly, many people are like, they're psychotic, they're crazy. Actually, They're extremely intelligent. It's almost like extremely high functioning spectrum, or like an engineering doctor brain, in my opinion, because they think and analyze and fascinate, right? So when I come to the analogy of an engineering brain, they think of all of the mechanics to make something work, correct? The same with a doctor. They think of all the mechanics and all of the information. So when it comes time for them to do I lost my train of thought. Did they ever say if there was evidence of a break-in? No. So this is where I remind me to get to that point as well, because that's why I was putting some of the pictures up in the beginning to show the cabin in Beach Creek being one of the only creators that actually stayed in the middle of Beach Creek. Let me tell you, that was fun. If any of you are new to this channel, stayed in the middle of Beach Creek. But I have not even looked at the parents' interviews. I've not looked at any of the interviews. I've got to be honest with that, because I want to go strictly off of facts of profiling a potential person, as to opposed of already having in my mindset of who the suspects are and the list, which I have gotten to that point, but this is just the introduction of profiling the killer. I'll check that out, though. Definitely will. I know a lot of the parents were definitely supportive, and but the funny thing is what I heard last night was when the sister had no idea about the boyfriend. That was a little alarming to me. Not if you come from a family like mine, no. But if they were as close, it is a little bit alarming. So there was no evidence of break-in, Karen says. And that's what I thought. Because I have not seen any publications or notifications of a break-in. So, motive, ego, mentality, control, and also notoriety. So when you think of that, what is that equal to? What do you think of when you hear those? Narcissism, right? Definite narcissism included in with that factor. Revenge, control. It's more of a mental control than the control of the situation, right? Because then once you reach a certain level, sometimes even a normal person, when you reach a certain level to being upset, you just see red and go off, right? So that's kind of where I think, exactly, Karen, narcissism. That's where I think that this mental mind state is a hunting, a stalking the prey, whether the subjects knew him or not. It could have been somebody they knew. Shoot. It could have been somebody like I was referring to across from the bar. Can I buy you a drink? And they turned him down. Ego, right? And it could have been something that happened months ago, not that night, right? So that comes into my mind, the premeditated factor. Is the perfect time to attack under the influence. And their routine. You start to study. So what do most hunters do? They study the prey, right? And you got to kind of analyze it in that form. So when you analyze it in that form, like I come from a family of deer hunters, and my biological dad did a lot of hunting in Africa. You learn a lot when you hear those stories. I'm a big sap for animals. I can't go through animal killings, torture, anything. But the mentality of a hunter is the best way I can analyze this. So when you hunt for deer or you even fish, you analyze the prey to catch. So when you hunt for deer, you have your house. I can't think of the proper name right now, but the house, the tree house. You cover yourself in deer pee, right? And you watch. And you notice when they come and when they go, right? Which throughout the years, everybody has significantly learned how to hunt, fish, correct? When it comes to, sun up, sun down, best time for the prey to be able to feed. The predators come out at night, right? So there's certain times where the prey, even when it comes to animals, they know the process and they understand the process and they study, even though they're animals, they still study the routine and when the prey is most vulnerable. Otherwise, they wouldn't eat. So it's kind of the same mentality, very animalistic mentality, as somebody that likes to kill and kill multiple, in my opinion. Okay? So that brings you into the choice of weapon. Most serial killers, 9 times out of 10, will take some type of trophy, correct? I think. Thank you, Tennille. So good to see you, lovely. Thank you. The boys are down for a nap, so I can talk. So when we come to the factor of the trophy aspect, right? I called it with Delphi. I have some issues with Delphi, and I can always go over that in the future. But that's a whole nother story, because that is spiritual entities and demonic entities that are also attached to that case. And I can always go into that. That's a whole different episode. But I fully believe that he was having left a mark, and it's more than one. I've always said around 3, okay? And a trophy was taken. And that was in my cold reading that I did on that case way back when I didn't even know about the case. And it was very hard for me to touch because I tapped into the killer psyches, which I believe that one of them is no longer with us. Okay? Just holding that in case I never go live about it, or if I do, just mark my words. My reading and what I have downloaded is there was 3, and 1 confirmed past. So let's get back. I'm squirreling. So that's where the analogy, I think his knife is his trophy. It is an emotional attachment and the type of kill. Because that kill, from outside looking in, you see it as a crime of passion. Well, in one sense, yes, because it is deep and passionate and full of rage. But that knife has significance to the killer. So instead of taking a trophy, that is his trophy. So the best way I could mentally analyze a comparison for you guys is when you look, I did tap into this case. Which case? The Idaho 4 or the Delphi case? Because I've tapped into both of them. And that's why I'm profiling the killer on their energy, is because I did a cold reading before I really went into the case. And I really haven't touched the case at this point. I'm just going off of my cold readings and what I've seen just on the news articles. So, you know the old story of the samurais? Put a 1 in chat if you know of the stories of the samurais and their swords. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, samurais, or specific ones, depending, not all, when you take a life, that sword has that spirit in that samurai. Right? That's the same mindset that I got in my reading for that knife. It's not taking a possession. It's taking a different possession. Tennille, if you blocked Weedleby, that's her correct. Let me see if she's under guidance. She might be under Miss T, because Weedleby, I'm streaming off of both platforms. So, let me take a look. I think she might be under Miss T, love. Yes, correct, Karen. Spirit in the sword. That is the trophy. That is 100% what I got from my reading and my analysis of the kill. And I'm strictly just going off of my reading and the facts that I've seen. Now, that's the weapon of choice. We have the motive. We have the weapon of choice, right? The weapon of choice is also the trophy. That's why you'll never find it. And it's not hidden and it's not buried. It stays on him. And that took me into the attack of passion, or was it a planned attack, aka thrill, kill, hunt? What are your thoughts after I've gone over some of those? I'd like to know what your thoughts are when it comes to that aspect. Because I honestly think, yes, it's a crime of passion, but not in the way that many think. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was an admirer and not somebody directly to them. So in the comments as I go on, let me know what you think, and I will continue. Oh, Tennille, here you go, Weedleby. She was just checking. She didn't realize I was streaming off of Miss T and Guidance. That's all. She just was like, oh no, I told her to block the fake Weedleby and I'm here and I don't see her. So just wanted to make sure. All right. So if you guys can give me your ideas. Hey, VH Sample. Welcome in. So when it comes to the motive, choice of weapon, attack of passion, planned attack, thrill, kill, hunt. What are your thoughts? And as you go and put in your thoughts, I'm going to go over the suspected way I think it was performed. Okay? So when you come to the sixth sense, or in general, and I'm going to refer back to the hunting and the butchering and the farming side of life, because I grew up in that environment coming from Flint. Okay. Every other couple miles, there's a meat processing place that will process whatever you've hunted. Okay. So when you kill specific animals, they go for the artery and the jugular, correct? Well, when you do a swift one with a very sharp and well-sharped, not our dull kitchen knives that we use in the kitchen. Like, I'm a chef and my knives are dull as hell. Sometimes butter knives cut better than my kitchen knives, right? But when I want to sharpen them, bet your bottom dollar, I can sharpen a knife like nobody's business, right? On top of it being serrated on one side. So, my thought process in this is when they enter the home. Now, before we start with the kill, this is the cabin that was in Tennessee that we stayed in Beach Creek. Okay. The bottom where the rocking chairs were, right there, that was considered the basement bottom floor. Where the big balcony is, that was considered the middle main floor. And that top balcony, the little one on the very, very top, that was the top floor. So that in the middle floor, it was the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, one other room, and the main bathroom. So there's entrances in that cabin in the front and the side, and everywhere has windows and places of access because it's on the hill, on an incline. So when you look at that, there's multiple ways to get in. And if this killer has been studying his prey, they see, depending on when they started watching, of who's inside the home. And if the doors were locked. If the doors are locked, forget about it. You know? In my opinion, not even going to bother, because there's 4 other doors possibly that are open. And they crave it internally. It's like an addiction. If you smoke, do anything, it's the craving. So when it comes to following through, you go for the jugular. One being, you think there's one extra being a lookout, Grammy H, or is that a lookout as in where the access, the entrance into the room? So as I wait for you to say, typically I have seen pigs, cows, one good cut here. Let them bleed out, hang them upside down, and then proceed to butcher, correct? Possibly 3 total people. You think there's 3 people in this Idaho 4? I know there's 3 with Delphi. Involvement with Delphi. That's good to know. You think there's multiple people in this one? Welcome, Vicky. Welcome. We're going over profiling the Idaho 4 killer and more of a criminal psyche profiling. VH sample, I would like to agree with that, but when it comes to, you might have, I said it prior, but I fully feel that I don't think, this is where I take the hunting analogy in, that the correlation to knowing the hunter and the prey. I don't think it was 100% connected as a relationship, but definitely have crossed paths, okay? So the entrance of the home obviously was the first 2, the second floor, the middle floor. The most open area to access would be the sliding door. Curious, I get there are a few psychics in the room. Everybody has abilities. So that's kind of need a little bit more detail on that one. Well, that's the thing with the property. It is on Zillow. It is listed. You can do visual tours. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist or any of us web sleuths, and we already got the whole map out of the house, correct? So once you already target and decide who, what, when, where. So who is the first one? And I feel like it has to do with something in the past with ego. Oh, you didn't upset anybody, love. I just don't know how to answer that. I do readings. I am. But if somebody is comfortable with stating they are in chat, they're welcome to. Hey, Sepsis Kills. Good to see you, lovely. Aw, thank you. So when it comes to, oh, don't be sorry. You're good. I just didn't know who else, but I do personally do readings. And this is where I'm going on the psyche of the killer and profiling the killer. Okay. So, correct, you can. And almost all web sleuths have already. Before the cops or even release anything, right? Everybody could give you the whole map and the layout of the whole house. Or even if it was sold in the past, you can still pull up those pictures and see the technical layout, whether it was remodeled or not, and still have a good assumption, right? I think it was more of not picking the property. It was picking the prey and then learning the property and the motive of the fluidity of making it successful. That's the wording that I wanted to get to. It once you get your eyes, and this is where I was going with hunting the deer or fishing, you understand your prey first before you go in for the kill. And you know their times of vulnerability, which would be intoxicated, under the influence, all of that, right? So it wasn't the property. That was the next level up. Because I think that the killer already fantasized on how the kill, because most of them fantasize. If you look at all of them, they have their own way of killing, right? So a lot of people say Ted Bundy vibes. When it comes to the stalker or the certain genre, they all have their own little niche of who they like. Like my examples in the beginning of the Clay County killer, correct? So he has his type. He's picked out who. Now it's to study the vulnerability and the location to where deem the attack. So it's not necessarily the property per se. It's more of the situational advantage that this person has, as to oppose to, well, let me just get them on the side of the street. Well, when you haven't cased that whole area and you just decide to jump them, everybody's got cell phones. There's tons of businesses that have cameras, and there's too much risk involved. And it's not enough of a game and a mental stimulation to continue or to do it, because they like the mental stimulation of the cat and mouse and the prey versus predator. Okay. So the suspected way of killing is where no, I don't see Ethan being a target. I think it was more of entertaining the type of kill as well. But I don't necessarily see Ethan. I have not gone that deep. But I ultimately feel as though I feel a lot of Clay County correlations to this. And that's in the very beginning of this video. And the ego mentality of past being turned down. Long story short, the Clay County killer who used to call in and tell his whole stories on the Howard Stern show, he would say when he did it, how he did it, and why. And his why was because prior he could never get anybody to date him or even entertain a date. So who his genre of killing was Ladies of the Night, Red Light District, pay to play. Okay. So that's where I'm going with that part of possibly correlating that, not Ethan, but more of the ego aspect of being turned down, whether it was somebody close or somebody that was offering to buy a drink or wanted to smile and was snubbed, because in their mind, it could have triggered something that made them think and trigger like a PTSD type scenario, as to opposed to when in all reality, yes, I feel like they have crossed paths, but I don't think it's anybody in the immediate circle. And it's more of an ego. How do you know if there was not a knock back from a male hitting on him at the frat house? No, I'm not getting that at all. There's always the potential of the ego mentality to do that, but I see this more as a dominance and control factor. And Ethan just happened to be there. Yes, familiar. I definitely think they're acquaintances, but not center circle that everybody's looking at. Like, when you're young, when I was in my 20s, you go in the bar, you see the same people, the regulars, the same people you cross in school, whatever you're doing, the same people that do the same things. That's how I see it, as passing acquaintances, same circles, but not that particular person being the target. I feel as though they were the first to go. And those were the ones with the defensive wounds, because there's 2 in the bed. But it would be a slice here, and then once it starts, it gushes, right? I'm trying not to get too gory, but it gushes. And so it comes out. So you've subdued. Hey, Herman Z Frog, good to see you, lovely. You've subdued the victim from being vocal and also becoming weak because of the significant amount. I assume the couple had defensive wounds. They haven't stated who, but I assume it's them because there's 2 of them in the bed, as to opposed to the other 2 were separate, correct? It would make sense if you heard something next to you, whether intoxicated or not, you're not going to have that whiplash response as you would sober or in a deep sleep, but you would still be on defense if you heard something out of the ordinary. And then once they're quiet, go in and rage. That's as graphic as I'll get on that side. And then move up to the top. Same way. And rage. If the drinks were spiked, that wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't have been able to even order food at the food truck. So I totally negate the thought of them. I have tossed upon the thought of the dog being subdued in some way or tranquilized, but I've never contemplated the victims being tranquilized because they were already under the influence. The whole house was already drinking. The other 2, no. they wouldn't have been able to order their food. They wouldn't even been able to do anything by the time they got to the food truck. They wouldn't have been able to be coherent enough to ask for their points, to see how many points they have if they could get a deal or a discount. And they wouldn't have been discounted coherent enough. And if you look at the body language, are you talking about the couple or the two below? The two that were unharmed, Ethan and girl? No. I don't feel any type of spite, because they probably wouldn't have gotten home if that was the case. There would have to be some serious allegations and witnesses for the couple to be drugged in that way. I feel as though they were the first kill. So then when they get up to the second floor, and then easy peasy. And then just calmly leave because he fed the monster. Okay? I do not feel that either of the couples were the target per se. Now, it could be if one of them turned down the killer. But I feel as though the killer, I'm more going on the psyche of the killer more than the suspects. I mean, more than the victims at this point. And I said that in the beginning. I'm sorry. I didn't reiterate myself. I'm more going on the psyche of the killer and the profiling of the killer as to opposed to the victims and that detail at this time. Hey, Blue Diamond. Good to see you, lovely. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Good to see you. So now that we've gone over the motive, choice of weapon, which I also think is his trophy, I'm still waiting to see what your thought of is if it was an attack of passion, a planned attack, thrill kill, or it's all lumped into one. My suspected way of killing was that. Slice, incapacitate, any type of screaming, breathing, and go in rage and on to the next. Now, when it comes to the crime scene of, no, you didn't bombard me, you're asking questions. I think it's all the above as well, Grammy H. Now, when it comes to the crime scene, the most important factor is going to be the sequence of who was in order when it comes to the DNA aspect. And that can give you more of an idea of who was the target as to oppose, and a good start of who, and then that will give you more answers to why, right? But there was definitely a prey versus predator mentality. And like I said, I will not be surprised if the dog is involved, anybody else is involved, or other things show up that this person has done before. I agree. I think the same thing. Aw. Well, thank you, Blue Diamond. You're welcome to just listen and enjoy. Happy to see you in chat. I look forward to seeing you tonight, though, at our live, if you're going to be around. So I haven't even looked into that part. I didn't even know about that aspect, I think, until this morning, about another couple. And it wouldn't surprise me. And that's where I put in the beginning, it wouldn't surprise me if we linked them to other thrills of feeding the monster, as you would say. The monster within, right? Hey, Hermit Z Frog, just so you know, in case you see me commenting on anybody, I don't know if I said it since you've been in chat, I am streaming on Miss T and Guidance. And both were done on the 13th of the month. So there's some significance there. There definitely is. And it's resignation. My initial feeling, there's significance in resignation. So before any real answers came out with the Delphi, I automatically said, and I'm going back to this again, is left a mark that's unnoticeable, but he left something. And you really have to look for it. As well as trophies. And then the main thing that I have not been able to kick is a bird's eye view kills in 2. It's a game of chess. And something along the lines of I leave and I take. But it's all a game on that aspect. So it's kind of the same thing with this. Exactly. Kind of like a checkmate. I see it as a game and feeding the monster within. So being connected, it wouldn't surprise me. Also, the staging of the bodies, I had no idea until fairly recently that they were actually staged, right? Had no idea. It's my cat's snoring. I apologize. Making sure it wasn't one of my kids. No, it's not a game, but it's the mental stimulation. And I kind of went over that in the beginning. It's more of a mental stimulation. And ego complex. Okay. I remember in the Delphi case, they said the killer had taken something for his trophy. I guarantee he left something discreet. And I also think there's 3. 1 being gone already. And I'm not necessarily saying RL. And who's left? There are evil entities that the body does entertain in this. And I got the same vibe with this situation with Monkey. Now, I do not post a lot of my readings online or make them public for the simple fact that I want to leave respect for the family, right? I even had an astral projection out of body where I saw Delphi and the murder. And some people know, some don't. But sometimes I leave that, especially when they're minors. I do not post out of respect when it comes to the sensitivity of that. Well, if you think I'm using my abilities wrong, I can't help the messages that come. I don't force them. So what is your opinion on that? You can have whatever opinion you want. But if you think that, that's up to you. And when the answers come out, it'll be, I told you so, you told me so. And that's why I like to do cold cases, cold readings, because Once I get emotionally invested in a case, I only go by facts, not by my readings. And that's why also I don't connect with certain cases or highlight certain cases with readings if I'm already emotionally connected to it. I have nothing troubling me that's interfering. Sorry you feel that way. Thank you, Melissa. I am just going off of what I've had and also my fascination with criminal psychology and profiling. So, to each their own. So, when it comes to the main target, if they do feel that it's targeted, this is going to be in the importance of the killing and the sequence and the cross-contamination and who has the most wounds. Granted, the type of wounds, more so than the most. Because the ones that are going to fight back will have the most, obviously. I'm more speaking on the terms of who gets the most brutal form. Oh, you can't find my other channel? Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me look for it. And then I was also going over the possible background and mental state of the killer. Good morning, Tammy. It's good afternoon here. It's 2:13 where I'm at. Oh, no, I don't listen to them. If somebody wants to have their opinion, they're welcome to it. If not, that's fine too. But I like to actually, and I kind of want to, I'm trying to separate my readings from the cases. But when I do get downloads and information, I want to bring it forward and let you know, and then just go on facts from there. Especially when I profile, because I am very interested in profiling the mental psyche of the attackers, especially after I've had specific downloads. But when we go over the possible background of the killer and mental state, military, wannabe military, ROTC, or dishonorable discharge, definitely has some fascination or was brought up in a military family. There's some correlation with the fantasization. I can never say those words. Fantasizing of the military aspect. And it kind of hit home when I heard about Call of Duty being originally created to desensitize soldiers before they go overseas to war. I kind of get this mental of stimulation from this killer. It's militant background, whether it's familiar or personal, and could not qualify for the military if so, or something happened that made him ineligible. Something significant with the military. And also the mental stimulation, and then the ego and the thrill for the kill to feed the monster within. And it's a prey versus predator motive. Vulnerability takes in all the different aspects of being vulnerable, of the timing, and when. So it's very premeditated and it's very calculated. But that's why I don't think the dog is injured, is because they've already moved on from killing animals. That no longer feeds the monster that humans do. Okay? And I think that dog is connected. And once you got a taste of human kill, the humans are no longer significant in the psyche part of it. And then the logistics of the breaking and entering into the home, second floor. All of the people that live there, from what I understand, use the bottom floor. But now, if they had guests, would they be coming through the second floor? I honestly think it was the easiest move, the simplest move, and that's the sliding glass door that had no lock, no code, and the easiest one to get in. So when you're casing somewhere, and you've seen criminals work, they case the area. They case where the cameras are. They case everything. And so you would expect when they go into that move, they case everything too. Because then you think so? I agree. I agree with that. I mentioned that earlier, is there's an emotional attachment to that, and he uses that as his trophy regarding to taking the spirits, as to opposed of taking a physical object in his mind. My analogy was a samurai and a samurai sword. So the only type of possible, the sliding glass door is the main option for me. I do not know of any working cameras in that area. And I think that's why a lot of them are stumped, because so many people, and being a college town, there's so much foot traffic. It's not hard to mistaken. So that's why they've had so many interactions. Interviews. He was invited into the house. So you obviously probably think it's like the ex-boyfriend or someone. I do not feel it's somebody that's in their center circle. And I also don't think it was somebody invited in. Now the question is why are they... Oh. So the question is, no. Frat clubs, no. A lot of people are speculating that. I don't think anything has to do with the frat club. Now, the only type of initiations when it comes to that would be gangs or cartels. I don't see frat clubs getting that bad because they haze. They don't have you kill. I think this is a personal entertainment and not the only one. So I don't think the frat club has, unless it's somebody in the frat club, that's always a possibility, because it is somebody familiar, but it's not somebody in their center circle. I don't feel that whatsoever. And I would be very surprised to see that. And the easiest way to enter is that door or window. All of them have large windows. All of them have doors going in. And then the possible disposal of evidence, I really don't think that there was any disposal of anything. Smooth, swift, in and out. Get your shit done and go. And also, that would not make for so much blood on the actual subject, the killer. Because if you think about all of the blood that was in the crime scene, it has more to do within the mattress, their bedrooms. They also had carpets. Guarantee it. And in their own personal rooms. Very swift. Slice, cut, stab, and then the one that is targeted will have the most brutal attacks, not the one that has the defense wounds. He was followed back from the frat house. Yeah, well, that's where very messy, yes. But in the aspect of it's going to be a mess no matter which way you look at it. But I'm more speaking on the terms of evidence of clothes and personal belongings, not necessarily fingerprints, DNA. And that's where I get from the killer on this side is it's a work in progress. It's a perfecting. And that's where the animals no longer became fun because he's perfected that side. Okay, I see what you're saying. Now, that would be the two girls below. Those were the two that survived. I don't see it being the couple. Because they all got home around the same, within the same hour. It's time. So I could see that for the girls below, if they were spiked and it was premeditated on that aspect. But then again, if their doors were locked and the music were playing, you're not going to hear swift, good cuts and cutting them at the throat first. So there cannot be any screaming. And you just think it's regular ruckus that your roommate's making. And if it was in their room, that could also be my thought process of unconscious, as nobody's answering the damn doors. Yeah, I understand. But also, I remember when I used to be that young and drinking, I could sleep through anything too, until I became a mom. And your awareness picks up. But I am also a victim of crime. I was a target of my parental parents having the wrong enemies. I don't see that here. Because many people have assumed that too. I don't see that. Because I was one of those kids that were targeted by a specific crime organization. So I don't see that. Yeah. It always makes you look and think different ways. Yeah. it definitely, the more you go through, the more awareness it brings to you, right? But to a certain extent, that's where you got to draw the line and say, all right, so here are the core factors, but also filter out your own certain experiences and see where it fits. Because sometimes I have to take a step back and say, hey, am I overthinking it, or am I thinking it not enough? So that's pretty much what I have on the Idaho 4 of profiling the killer at this point. It was definitely a targeted attack. The mentality was prey versus predator. Definitely filling and feeding the monster within. And oh, you don't upset. You're good. You're good. It's very hard for me to get upset here. They have not listed any amount of POIs at this point. Thank you, Melissa. No, I don't have a dog on my lap. There'd be no way that'd be possible. He's behind me. Yes. My dog is 100 pounds, so there's no way he'd be sitting on my lap. My dog and my cat snoring and sleeping behind me. Right. We have our POIs, but I have even, yeah, he takes over, especially when he dreams, because he is a bulldog in Old English, so that's half American, half English. And, well, of course it's going to be heavy. He's a bulldog. So, yes, I am going to go over that next of my persons of interest. Yep. So I'm going to go over who. Thank you, Becky. So I'm going to go over on my next. I would be interested, public art critic. If you ever want to reach out, you're welcome to. And I am going to be going over who I think as persons of interest. I have to dig a little bit more because I'm not necessarily content with who I always leave everybody on the list. But there's a chopping order to who comes first. Thank you, Grammy H. I really appreciate that. So stay tuned. And then also, big update. I will be covering Lucian Munguia, the missing baby 5-year-old from Washington, who is also autistic and has been missing, and some inconsistencies in the investigation. And my history with dealing with corruption and intimidation, I am very good at profiling and digging into those type of cases and spotting them with a sore tooth. Like it's very easy. So yours is the ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend, grub truck owner, bartender, corner bar. I am all for doing lives and 6 a stalker. I go with your number 6, a stalker. But not, it could be that stalker. But, oh, you know what, Melissa? I actually get asked to do that many times. And I also assist certain local ones here too, in my area. And work on some cases, cold cases too. The joy of being an overthinker, an overanalyzer, and also, to be brutally honest, by this crime organization, I was, let me see, maybe age 4 to 7, that I had somebody try to kidnap me. The phones tapped and cameras, and the whole house was bugged. And they also paid somebody to plow into the people that were all of the strikers across the street from our home. Paid or a part of to plow into the people striking that were also in support. So it makes me have a different mindset to look into the criminal psyche or the psyche of the offenders to better understand it as well. Not just as a victim, but to understand the other side as well, just with my gifts. Once I understood and comprehended my gifts to a certain extent, I'm not scared of my ability, my dear, not so whatsoever. I studied theology for many years, and many of my regulars in chat will tell you I am not scared of my ability. I do use it. I just don't always put it public. Well, if you want to if you did not catch how they caught the house, I have stated that. All of the sleuths have gotten the house already. And I do use my gifts in many ways. Well, thank you. Thank you, you as well. I use my abilities for when they come and if a message needs to be delivered. Otherwise, I just stick to the facts and analyze and go over all of it. So, correct. And it's not scary at all. I was that 3-year-old that used to go around telling everybody who their past life was, what they did in their past life. What 3-year-old even knows what a past life is? So I've handled them my whole life. And it's generational on both sides. And many of my regulars can attest that I do use my abilities. I just might not on here, but I also stick to the facts and logical too. So that's why I like to do a cold analogy. I am not monetized, Melissa, but I do have Cash App or PayPal. Let me type that. What makes you assume I don't use my abilities? I would like to know this. Hermit, you can always, you're so much more eloquent with your wording than me. Sometimes I have too many squirrels. Which one are you asking about, Vicky? Which one do you want to know about? Which parental figure do you... Oh, she beat me. I'm still typing. My stepfather? I don't have a stepfather. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I do put them out. I do. You do. You're always on top of it, girl. You are. No. Okay. I had 2 dads. One blood, one not. Why? Do you have a message? I've never had a stepfather. I'm a product of an affair, so it's kind of hard to decipher. No. 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 Mm-mm. Now, my blood father, he was adopted, and he was... I can play with my hair all I want. I normally keep it up in a messy bun. Are you a psychic too, or are you asking about Jeff? Because there is no Jeff. And there's always a possibility. But the only thing that changed was the last name. I have a brother. That's what Jeff said. I have a brother. Because I'm a product of an affair. No, not so ever. My last name only changed during marriage. It did not change because of fathers, because I did not know about the affair until I was almost 18. So, it could be somebody else that you are keying into. because I do not know who you're talking about. Because one father starts with a K, one father starts with an E. There's no G. And the last names both start with a C. There is no struggle. Thank you, Melissa. I love and respect you too. You absolutely made my day. So I'm not sure. Well, I guess within time there will be a G, but I can't get more than 2 dads. So, don't know. I don't know. I have a struggle. My twins just woke up. That's my struggle. Being able to do my live and going over the psyche. But interesting that you'd say a G. There's nobody even remotely in my life with a G. And on that note, it could be for somebody else that's in chat. Possibly. It's happened before. But I really appreciate everybody joining. And then hopefully by the next time I cover this case, we will go over some basic suspects, kind of like how you did, public art critic, on who we think and in what order and why. Okay? And then we'll also go over Lucian Munguia and cover his case. Positive vibes always. And if you really want to know, I stay protected. I've even got shungite that I keep close with me. That's just some too. I could pull out more. Besides just my constant faith in God, angels, and protection, and street smart. Yes, welcome, Karen. Much love to everybody. Stay safe. God bless. And I will see you on the next one if I don't see you tonight as I produce a live. Have a beautiful afternoon. Enjoy your extended weekend. And we will see you on the next one. And I have my face on camera this time. Love y'all. Bye. And thank you for joining me. I really appreciated it. Don't be sorry. It just might be for somebody else. I will try to do more lives when my twins permit it, because I enjoy it. I really do. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Well, I'm used to just throwing it up in the mom bun. I never really, you know that, hermit. So weird calling you hermit. But it's about to go back up in the mom bun because my twins are up. Have a wonderful night, day, morning, wherever you may be. And if you're on the replay, let me know your thoughts below as well. And if this story, or not story, if this has impacted in any way or made you think of it in a different way, please let me know. Comment below. I'm going to save myself from being a smartass on that one, Missy. I was going to go somewhere I shouldn't. Let me know. Let it sink in. And let me know what you think about today's live. And on that note, I hope you all have a good day. And this is The end. Have a beautiful day. Love you guys. Bye.